Okay, so now I'm ready to add the bumper on the armrest support or the seat structure. And I'm gonna put myself in the left viewport. And it's kind of hard to see again, but I'm just gonna hide this temporarily so that you can see what the bumper looks like. It's just like I've always done. It's just these two lines I'm gonna project into the seat support, basically. So I'm just gonna unhide my seat support, and I'm gonna use the control point curve as I've always done. And I'm gonna place my first point here, second point, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh point. I'm gonna make some little adjustments to it. So I'm gonna use the curvature graph. It's always a good practice, I would say, to check from time to time your curve, what it looks like. So I'm gonna increase the display scale. So again, you can spot this little knot here, another little knot here. So I'm gonna do the rebuild. So under fillet curves, going to find the rebuild curve function. So it's a degree 3 with 7 control points. Let's make it degree 5. So with 6 control points, it's 1/800 of an inch deviation. If I put it at 7 control points, so I'm making a span 2, so the deviation is even smaller. And I can make it like that and click OK. And you see, even if it's multi-span, it managed to clean and get rid of the knots. So I'm just gonna now, so let me hide my cushions. There you go. And maybe I'm gonna select this structure here, and I'm gonna click on the padlock so that we can see better like that. Okay, so now I've got these points. I rebuilt my curve, and I'm just gonna take some of these control points, for example, this one, and move it on the XY plane, or the YZ plane, I should say, and play with the shape. Let's see what I can achieve. This. So I'm going to take these 2 points, and I'm going to use the YZ plane to move them around like that. And I need to modify this one. Maybe move this one. I'm trying to follow the design on my sketch and maintain a positive curvature like that. Okay, this is, maybe I should take this one actually and just move it a bit higher like that. This one, let's see what I can do like that. Let's bring this one a bit further down. No, sorry, here and like that. And maybe select all these 3 points here, lift them up slightly while trying to maintain this positive curvature like that. So as you can see, there's tweaking, moving around. And keep in mind, always try to maintain a small amount of number of control points, but enough to capture the desired look. All right. So let's assume that it's good enough, Okay, let's say that, well, I just want to make sure that this one. Okay, let's move on, and let's do the other curve below. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And once again, I'm going to use the curvature graph, and I'm going to do a rebuild. Whoops, wrong function. Let's do it again. Rebuild. Select the curve, right click. So let's keep it 5, 7 as well, 2 spans, that's fine. Click OK. And now I'm just going to move this point a bit down like that. So let's move that about. here, and this one like this. So this one has to be like this. I'm going to take these two control points, move it further back like that. I want to make the back to a bit thicker than the front part of my curves. So this one, I need to bring it down a bit like this, and maybe I'm going to select these three control points and just see what it does if I move it a bit further up like that. There you go. That looks good. Okay, maybe, well, maybe this is a bit too much. I don't want to be too thick at the front part. I want it to taper. Make it nice and progressive. Something like that. All right, I could spend a decade on it, so I don't want to waste too much time. Okay, so let's say this is what I want, and I'm going to project this. So I'm going to select these two curves, but I need to unlock. So I'm going to right click on the padlock, and my selection is still highlighted, and I'm just going to click on the project curves, and then I'm going to select my poly surface, and I'm going to right click. So there's the projection, and when I was launching the function project curve, I had delete input equals yes. So the original curves will disappear. They will be deleted, and it's only the resultant that we'll see. Now, you see all these lines? These are the what we call ISO curves or ISO params on my solid. And sometimes I find them confusing. It's just a visual aid, you know, to see you how the surface, to show you how the surface is flowing. And I don't want to be annoyed by that too much. So I'm going to go on the Properties tab under Object where it says ISO curve density, and I'm just going to uncheck Show Surface ISO curve like that. So that way I can only see the curves. Okay. And so now if I go into my perspective view, let me just select them so that you see what's going on. This is the lower curve, and there's the upper curve. So it goes all around. And these are two closed curves, basically. Okay. I'm not going to keep all these curves. So this curve here on the inside, I'm going to split it. So when you have a closed curve, okay, I can split it in 2 points. Okay, and this is important. With an open curve, you can split at 1 point or 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, and so on. If you want to split a closed curve, you need to split at least in 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, that's okay. But you cannot split with just 1 point with a closed curve. So let me show you. So I'm going to click on split. I'm going to select in point, and I'm going to make sure that my snapping toolbar, endpoint or point, is activated on my snapping toolbar. And I'm going to go and find, for example, let's use this point here. That's 1. And I need to click a second time. So let me zoom in here and let's split it. Actually, I don't need to go all the way around here. I'm going to split it here and then right click. So now when I press escape and then I select this curve, you can see that I've separated from the rest of the curve. So let me just select this curve so that we can see better. And I'm going to change the display color. Let's make it cyan. There you go. So now we see better like that. Same for this one. I'm going to select that closed curve and I'm going to make it cyan. So display color, cyan. There you go. And I'm going to do the same for the lower curve. So I'm going to click on split to a point. I'm going to select my curve. And then it should snap at endpoint or at intersect. So you can activate on your snapping toolbar if you cannot find the endpoint. So it finds the intersection between the edge and your curve. And then you just click twice, find 2 points that you want to get rid of. I'm going to do it slightly different this time for my bumper than what I've done for my armrests. You see here, this one. I'm going to do, you could use the same technique that I showed you for the armrest, but I'm going to do it slightly different just to show you different ways of doing it. So I've got two rails, one rail here and another rail here. And if I put myself, for example, in this view, in the front view or the back view, doesn't matter, I can create a nice section here. All right, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to my back view. I'm going to put myself in the shaded mode, and I can clearly see my upper and lower curve that I projected into the armrest support. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to snap to the endpoints of these two curves, and I'm going to create a profile. Now you could create any shape you want for that section. I'm going to keep it simple for mine. There's going to be a sort of chamfer, so I'm going to click on the line tool. I'm going to snap in endpoint, and I'm going to grab the first point here. And you can definitely give an angle, you know, by using the lower than symbol and typing the angle that you want. But I'm going to just, you know, eyeball it. And let's say, let's give it an angle. Let's make it fairly big also. I don't want it to be too small, but let's say something like that. All right. Now I'm going to take this angled line and I'm going to do a mirror. So I'm going to right click on the move icon and I'm going to go and find the mirror function. Here it is. And it doesn't matter where it snaps to. So I'm just going to left click at this point here. I'm going to press shift to lock it along the X direction. And there's my mirror. Make sure that copy equals yes when you're about to mirror. Okay, that way you're not sending the original on the other side. You're making a copy. So I've got this line here. I'm just going to click on move. I'm going to snap in endpoint. I'm going to grab the endpoint of that line that I just mirrored, and I'm going to snap it to the lower curve at its endpoint there. There you go. Now, if you want, you know, for visual reason, whatever, you can select this control point, and you can move it, you know, to the angle that you wish. Now, for those who are using Rhino v5, when you select the curve, you won't see the control points. Okay. So if you're using Rhino v5, you just select your curve, and you can click on either this function, show object control points, or you can also have show curve edit points. Okay, and then you can move the control points on your curve. All right, so now I'm just going to close it off. So yeah, I could use the line tool from this point to this endpoint. Make sure that project is disabled. And I don't remember if I told you at the very beginning of the video, but I highly recommend that whenever you work in 3D, just make sure that planar is activated. It's gonna make it simpler. I explained in my other tutorials what it's for, you know. But you know, planar, as it suggests, is to allow you to work on a specific plane and to make it planar to that plane when you're about to snap your objects. So anyways, there's my section that I've created. Like I said, you can, you know, if you want, you can add some fillets if you want or whatever, but I can do that later on also. And I'm just going to join to create my section as one poly curve. So now I have a nice open curve. I like to call it poly curves because it's made of 3 curves basically. So now I've done this, and you can definitely do this on the other side. So I'm going to rotate. Actually, let me just hide the background images. And you can definitely do it on this side as well. You can create another section. Now the width is bigger here, so you're going to have to create another section, but I'm going to show you something else. So I'm going to take this let's make it cyan because it's kind of hard to see. Display color, light blue. All right, let's take this section here. I'm going to press on the Alt key, and with the gumball activated, you see the plus sign, so I'm just making a copy of that section. Now I can release it, and I'm just going to move this. And with the blue arc, I'm just going to rotate this to 90 degrees like that. Actually, it's the wrong direction, so I'm just going to click and I'm going to type 180. I should have done minus 90 degrees. And I want it to be oriented like that. And then now I just want to move this. So let me just move it closer to here. And I want to show you a function for those who are not familiar with Rhino. I can design any section I want anywhere in my viewport. All right, I can give it any shape I want, and you can see that this one is a smaller. This endpoint to that endpoint, it's much smaller than this. I can orient the drawing, whatever drawing I create in this view, for example, in the it's the left view. All right, I can sketch in 2D any shape I want, and then I'm going to orient this section so that it snaps to these endpoints of my upper and lower curve. Okay, so I'm going to go where the move function is. I'm going to expand my toolbar. And I've got this icon here called Orient Objects in 2 points. You can do in 2 points if you left click and 3 points if you right click. So I'm just going to do in 2 points. So I'm going to left click on this icon, Orient Objects, select Object to Orient. So I'm going to select my section and I'm going to press Enter or right click. Now it says, what are the reference points? So I'm going to snap in endpoint on my snapping toolbar. You can have copy equals yes or no. So that means if copy equals no, then you're going to move the original to its new position, okay? What is important is that when you're about to scale something and you want to keep the same ratio, the same ratio of width versus height with your original section, click on scale where it says scale equals no, left click on that and choose scale 3D. So it's going to make a nice uniform 3D scale of your original design. So I've got copy equals no because I don't want to keep the original. So, but if you want to keep the original, that's fine. Do copy equals yes, but just make sure that scale equals 3D. And it's asking you what is the first reference point. So that's going to be my first reference point, and you can see it's identified by the number 1. And look at the command line now. Always when you launch a function. So what is the reference point number 2? It's going to be the lower end of this section. So now it's asking what is the target point. So you click on target 1 and you can see that a section is snapped at this endpoint. And then it says, then it's asking for target point 2, and I'm going to snap to this end here. And now you can see because copy equals no, I moved the original to its new position and I have a new design here. All right. So it's not the best looking section that I've created, but you know, it's just to give you an idea of the different tools that Rhino can provide you when you're modeling. So let's say that I'm happy with these sections. I'm just going to create a new type of surface, or it should be a poly surface. I'm going to do the surface sweep to rails. Again, under the menu surface, you've got here surface sweep to rails, or if you go under this toolbar and you expand the toolbar, you've got here sweep to rails. All the functions that you have for creating surfaces, whether it's under the menu here or here, they are all made available in these menus, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to click on surface sweep to rails. So it says select the first rail, so that's going to be my first rail. Select the second rail, so it's going to be the lower curve. And then it's asking for the section. You can also sweep only with one section. You don't need to create multiple sections, okay? In this case, I wanted to show you with the other end how to use the orient 2 points. I didn't need to do that, you know, but if you want, you can create multiple sections with different shapes and you have a nice transition as you start sweeping your poly surface. So I'm going to select the first section and notice where I'm clicking. I'm clicking in this region, okay? And this is important because when I'm going to go and rotate and go to the other section, you need to click in the same region. Don't click at the bottom because you're going to twist your surface. So because I clicked at the upper end of that first section, I'm going to do the same for the second section. Click in the same region, okay? That way I avoid any twisting effect when I'm sweeping, and then I just right click to create the sweep. So I have a little preview window as always, and you can see what it looks like. All right. And if you're happy with the shape, then you can carry on. Yeah, so it's not the cleanest here. I could always try and enhance it, you know, but you know, I'm going to keep it just for visual purpose. But obviously, because the size of the section, this is another thing that is important to take into account when you're surfacing. You see that it looks kind of weird. The reason probably it's because the width here, it's a very big one, and here the corner radius is a very tight one. So it makes it difficult for Rhino when you're sweeping with such a wide section that you're sweeping around that tight corner. You're going to end up with something a bit, you know, weird looking. You can always fix that later on. So let's say I click OK. There you have it. Okay. So I have this part of the bumper. Now I can see because of my back faces, it's colored in blue. I know that the normals are pointing inwards. So I'm just going to click on the arrows for analyze direction, and I'm just going to click on flip all in the command line and right click and make sure that now the normals are pointing the proper way. So obviously I would have to fix this. So let's see if I can do that. I'm going to explode this, and I'm going to try and clean up a little bit because I find this kind of messy and ugly looking. So I've got this surface, I've got this surface, and I've got, obviously here it's very ugly looking, okay? So what I'm going to do, because I've got surfaces now, all right, if I select each one individually, I can split in isocurves. So we can split with surfaces, we can split with curves, and we can split in points, but I can also split with isocurves. So these lines that you see here, this is what we call isocurves. So if I right click on this function where it says split, you can see that if I right click on this icon, it's called split surface by isocurve. So I'm going to right click on that, and it's going to say select object to split. So it only works with surfaces. If you've got a poly surface, you're going to have to explode it first so that you can select your surfaces and to be able to split in isocurves, okay? So that's why I exploded the bumper. So select object to split. So let's start with this upper surface here. And I'm just going to right click. And I don't know if you can see this on the screen. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see that following my cursor, I'm traveling along this direction. And this is an isocurve. It's like, imagine a big knife that is following my cursor, but it's going in the wrong direction. I want it to be rotated 90 degrees. So you've got here in the menu, you've got direction equals U, but I'm going to click on toggle. So I'm switching to the other direction, and you can see what it looks like. You see? So I'm going to, for example, let's see if I can snap in end. Does it snap here? No. Okay, I'm going to cut about here. I'm going to make a first cut here, and I'm going to make a second cut about here. And I right click. So now this part here, I can discard it. I'm going to do the same again. So watch me do it. I'm going to right click on the split function to split in isocurve. I select my surface. That's important. Okay, make sure that it's a surface. And then I'm going to snap in endpoint. I'm going to find the endpoint here so that I can line up properly and make one cut here. And I'm going to make a second cut here and right click. And so now I can get rid of that messy surface. I'm going to do it again. So right click on the split icon. So select object to split. I'm going to select this. Right click. Snap to this endpoint. That's my first split. And then I'm going to split to that second endpoint here. Right click and get rid of that messy looking surface. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the adjustable blend curve and use that edge and that edge to make a nice curve. So I'm going to right click under the fillet curve icon to expand my toolbar and go and find the adjustable curve blend. I left click on that. I select my edge. Doesn't matter which edge. You can select either this one or that one. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to select the other edge and this one. All right. So I'm going to put myself in tangency at 1 and 2, and I need to try and see if I can make something that looks decent. All right, so maybe I can bring this one a bit further down like that, and I just right click to confirm it. So now I've got this rail. I'm going to keep it. That's the original curve, and I've got this curve. Let me just change the color to light blue, and then I'm going to sweep it. So surface. Sweep two rails, first rail, second rail, and then section 1 and section 2, and right click. And now I've got this surface here. I'm going to click OK. I'm just going to leave it by default, these values, and I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to create another adjustable blend curve. I'm going to select this edge and this edge, and now I have a much cleaner curve. I can play with the anchor points and try and get something like that. All right, and then I'm going to do a surface sweep to rail. So surface sweep to rails. I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to select my curve, and then I'm going to select this section and that section, and just right click. I'm going to leave it in position and just leave the rest as it is and click OK. Now you can see that that looks much better than the initial surface that I had. So let's see what happens with this one. It's going to be a bit tricky, I find. So let's see. surface, sweep to rails, this edge, that curve, this edge, and this edge. Not bad. It's not bad. Okay. So I'll leave it at position, do not change cross sections, and click OK. So you can appreciate the fact that now if you want to make it better, for sure you can try. But like I said, because the width here is so thick, and when you're trying to sweep around a tight corner, you might have unexpected results. So be careful when you're about to start doing sweeps and all that. You have to plan this well ahead to see if it makes sense or not when you're about to create your surfaces. In this case, it's stretching it a bit, I find, but that's okay. Maybe I don't need to have the bumper in the rear. I would stop it, just on the side. Maybe that would be a better option, and just right click. Now you can see this one is kind of messy as well. It's not very good looking. So what I could do instead, I'm gonna go and stop it straight, because this is really ugly, this part. So I'm just gonna make it go straight like this. I'm gonna snap in here. So, and I find the edge of that armrest support, and I'm just going to draw a straight line like that. All right, and because I've done that, I'm going to select this straight line that I just created, and I'm just going to maximize this, and I'm going to click on trim, and I'm just going to trim off this part because I find it's super ugly actually. So I'm just going to remove that. Again, it's due to the fact that the fillets are such tight radii that it messes up. So I'm going to stop it at this area, in this region. Okay, now I'm going to right click on the project curves icon, and I'm going to expand the toolbar, and I'm going to go and find the third icon called duplicate edge. I'm just going to select this edge, and right click. Then I'm going to join these two curves that I just extracted like that. Now that I have this curve here, I'm going to split at this point and this point here. So split to a point, and I'm going to snap in endpoints, and I'm going to go and find this endpoint here and that endpoint here. All right, so I don't need this lower curve. This one I don't need it. This one I don't need it, but this one I will keep it. And then let me change the color. Let's make it white, for example. There you have it. So I don't know if it's perfectly planar, so I'm going to try something. If it's perfectly planar, I can right click on the surface creation icon and expand my toolbar, and I've got here surface from planar curves. Now, as the title says, it's planar curves. If you're unable to create a surface, that means that it's not planar here. So let's try. Maybe it will work, maybe not. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just selecting the boundaries, and I just right click. And indeed, it didn't work because it's not perfectly planar. All right. So I can try another function. I'm going to patch it. So there's a function called patch, and it's found again under the surface creation toolbar. All the surfaces, as a reminder, they're found here under the surface creation toolbar. So I've got here patch. So I'm going to click on patch, and it works a bit similar to the surface from planar curves. But the difference is that patch can work even if it's non-planar, those curves. So I'm going to select this, and there's something interesting that I noticed. There's this little gap here. So I'm going to modify this. I'm going to have to modify this. So I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to do extract duplicate edge actually. So I'm just going to select this, and this. And there you have it. Okay, so, and this poly surface, I'm just gonna delete all that stuff. You see here, now again, it's not the best looking bumper, but it's just to show you how it works. So let me change the color. So I've extracted the curves here, and I'm just going to redo the sweep because partially, I'm going to keep the part in the aft section. That's fine. And I'm just going to change the section here, and let me join this like that. And let me change the color so that we can see better, like that. All right. So now again, this point here, I'm going to do an orient 2 points, So I'm going to do it in 2 steps. I'm going to make it planar, so flat, and I'm going to snap this endpoint to that point here. So first of all, I'm going to do orient 2 points. So copy equals null, scale 3D, definitely I'm going to keep that. So reference point 1 is this one, reference point 2 is this one. Now target point 1, it's already snapped correctly, and target point 2, snap it here. All right, so that's the first step. Now I'm pretty sure that this curve is not perfectly planar. I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to create a plane, an auxiliary construction plane. All right, so to do that, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to use the rectangle tool. So I'm going to right click on the rectangle icon, and you've got different ways of creating your rectangle. I'm going to select the second icon for from my rectangle toolbar. So it's called rectangle center corner. I'm going to click on that. So I'm going to place the center point of my rectangle at this point here. And now I'm going to put myself in the left viewport. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle like that. And this rectangle, it's going to be an auxiliary construction plane that I'm going to create. All right. So I'm going to do it in the perspective view. I'm going to change its color to white, for example. So display color white. All right, there's my rectangle. So I'm going to select this rectangle, and you agree with me that it's fully planar. You know, it's the 4 points are aligned coplanar. All right. So I'm going to create an auxiliary construction plane. To do that, you just right click on the perspective tab, and you have here set C plane. So C plane stands for construction plane. And in there, I can set my construction plane any way I want, in 3 points, define its origin, using the elevation. But the one I like to use the most is 2 objects. So my object is the rectangle, so I just select 2 objects, and you can see that my grid has changed position, orientation. So now I can select this section here, and I'm going to type project to C plane. So I'm projecting to my construction plane, delete input, yes. And there you have it. So I don't know if you noticed on the screen, but there was a slight change. So let me undo it so that you can see. And if I redo the projection plane, now it's flattening everything. Now, obviously this endpoint, you can see that it's not touching my curve, unfortunately. So what I might want to do, let me think. I'm gonna actually no. Let's leave it like that. Let's leave it like that, because you can also sweep without the section touching the curve. All right. I wouldn't say it's the best practice, but you know, you can definitely do that. Or if you want, but it's not going to make it planar. However, it's not going to make this surface planar, but I'm going to do an orient to 2 points, scale 3D. So I'm going to select this endpoint, target point 1, target point 2, like that. Let's try something like that. All right, so now I know that this is snapping to the endpoint here, all right, of that curve, and this one is snapping like that. So let's see what happens. If I do planar curve, there you go. So it worked. So let me undo this and explain this to you. So what I did is that when I projected to my construction plane, I made sure that this section was nice and flat. And then all I did was orient 2 points like I've done previously and re-snap it so that it connects to the curve at this point here exactly, and that point there. And then I use that curve that I extracted and that section to make a nice planar surface by using the function here, the second icon under surface creation, surface from planar curves. I apologize if it looks a bit confusing, okay? But try it out for yourself, and you'll better understand what I mean by all that stuff. But I want to show you these different functions. Anyways, so surface from planar curve, I can select this curve and that curve, right click, and it's creating that flat surface. And now I can select surface, sweep to rails, I can select this rail, second rail, I can select this section. So you can, I suggest that you select the curve, because if you select the edge, it's only going to select the upper edge. So select the curve for the section, and let's go to this one. And now, yeah, okay, I'm going to have to press escape because I need to create another section here. So I'm going to right click for extract duplicate edge, and I'm going to select these curves, right click and join. So what I did to resume is I used the duplicate edge and selected each edge to make one section, which is going to be basically create a curve here. And now I'm going to do a sweep to rails. So I've got one section here and I've got another section here. All right, so I can do a surface, sweep to rails, rail 1, rail 2, and this section, so section 1 and section 2 here. Right click and there you have it. Okay, and then I can click OK, and then I can join. So join this poly surface with that poly surface, right click, and there you have it. All right, so that's how you basically achieve. Now you see here, this is very messy, this curve. So I should have done like I should have created an auxiliary construction plane, take that section, project it against a construction plane to make sure that it's flat. This is not a very clean poly surface. However, what I could do, if I go here and let's see here, you can see what it looks like. It's kind of messy. So I'm just going to hide the armrest support, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And what I can do also is use the line tool, and let's say, for example, I snap to this endpoint. I'm going to press Shift to lock it along the Z direction, right click. Now I see that I'm going to bring it further back here, something like that. Bring it down, and then I can trim, select the line, enter, and click the part where you want to get rid of. So that section, I don't want it. Let's get rid of that. And so now I've got a nice and flat section. All right, so I'm just going to right click on the light bulb to bring everything here. And if you want, you can also, I can explode it back because I need to use another function. If you want to stretch this a bit further, because we had to trim it, there's a function called extend surface. So you go to surface, extend surface. Here it is. And I'm going to select this end, and now you can extend it whatever distance you want. All right, so I'm going to extend it, maybe put myself into wireframe, and I'm going to extend it, click on project and near, and grab the edge like that. All right, let me show you again. So I can, let's do at the bottom. So I do surface, extend surface, select the edge of your surface. Now make sure that you have a surface, not a poly surface. It won't work with poly surfaces. All right, so if you need to explode your poly surface, do it. And then make sure you click on project, and you can snap a near, in and, or perpendicular, for example, and you can find the near of your edge like so. Whoops, let's do it again. There you go. There you go. So now that I've extended these two, the upper and lower surface, what I could do is also you can extend definitely this surface as well if you want, or if you want, you can also do surface sweep to rails and select this edge, and then that section, and just sweep it. All right, and leave it at position at A and B and click OK, and then you can join this, and that's it. Definitely, you have a whole bunch of different surfacing tools that can allow you to clean up, fine tune. For example, I would also clean up this region here, like I did previously, try to make it look nice and tidy, and so that it looks as the way you want it to be. All right, so it's not because you created the first surfaces that you have to settle with those surfaces and carry on with something else. Don't hesitate to explode, to trim, to split, to clean up. You use the adjustable blend curve, redo your fillets, and so on. And that's the way you're going to practice more and more, by working out the little details to make it look just the way you want it, and you're going to be in no time an expert in surfacing. Okay, now I don't want to spend too much time trying to do all the little details. I just want you to understand the principles behind this, and yeah, so realize that there are tons and tons of surfacing tools in Rhino, especially with the NURBS tools. There are a lot of surfacing tools that allow you to shape what you want. Okay, so let's leave it at that and carry on with the next phase. Thank you.